Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my reading plans for June. I actually didn't upload a TBR for May, a TBR video for May, and I really enjoyed just doing whatever I wanted and reading whatever I wanted and not talking about what I was reading or what I was planning on reading. And I also missed, as in like I emotionally missed doing a TBR video. So yeah, I'm excited to be with you all. So if you're new to my channel, then hi, I'm Shelly and I really love books and reading, which is probably why I have a whole channel dedicated to the subject. And let's think. If you're new and you like the vibes, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around. We want you here. I want you here. And like the video if you like the video. Without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I am hosting a readathon in June. It's called Read Historical Fiction 2024. That's a hashtag, and it's all about reading historical fiction, if you could imagine. And I have prompts, so I guess I'm going to be showing you the prompts. I also want to shout at the end, I'll do like a little shout out of other people's TBRs that I have enjoyed, and I will leave their videos linked down below. However, before I do that shout out, I do want to say that Elisabeth from the channel Bookends and Books did a TBR, or a pile of possibilities, and which she called a pop. We call that pop here on BookTube, pile of possibilities. And she was so funny and sweet because she was saying that, like, with her pile of possibilities, she wants to she's like a little kid in her room, walking around with a guest saying, "Do you see this? This is a toy that I could play with, but I want to show it to you because it's so cool." Or as my little son says, cool. You know, or "Do you see this over here? This is great. I could play with this." And it's just that almost childlike excitement for the possibilities ahead, which is why it's so exciting to share a pile of possibilities. So I have that for y'all. And I am going to actually follow my own prompts, I think. I haven't really, this is not a very well planned out video, but TBRs, they don't have to be well planned out. So I might be doing some of this off the cuff. I made a bingo board for this readathon. I have 8 prompts. The middle bingo board, which would be the 9th prompt, is a free space. So I said, read a work of historical fiction set in the country you're from. And I would love to get to The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I've only read one other Anne Patchett book, and that was Bel Canto. And some of it worked for me, some of it did not. The ending was not my favorite, but I could tell that she was a seasoned writer. And I would imagine that a book such as The Dutch House is going to be at least showcasing her seasoned writing ability. However, I don't know if I want to even read this. I have the book. I should read it. But mostly Tom Hanks narrates the audiobook. And y'all, I love myself some Tom Hanks. He and I share an alma mater at the collegiate level. He went to Sacramento State University, and so did I in California. He narrated a lot of Sacramento history documentaries that we would watch on the public broadcasting station, PBS, when I was a kid. So his voice is very soothing, and he is the voice of Woody. And I love Toy Story. It is my favorite movies. They are my favorite movies of all time. And so I just really love Tom Hanks, and the fact that he narrates this book, I'm like, I just want to listen to it. Do I want to be, serenaded by his beautiful intonations and his voice? Absolutely. And do I think it will add to the experience of consuming this book? Absolutely. So that is on my mental docket for now. I should probably say something about the book. This is set in post-Second World War in Philadelphia, and I know nothing else besides, I think it's about siblings. So Philadelphia, after the Second World War in the US, and that's about all I know. Read a work of historical fiction set in a different country to the one you are from, and I have two by the same author. I figure I'll just pick, and that is Peter Carey. He is an Australian writer. He's famously won the Booker, and I think Oscar and Lucinda is his, actually I don't know if it's his most famous book. It's the most famous book of his in my heart, because I saw Aaron Facer, who is a wonderful YouTuber here. I will leave him linked down below. He read this and raved about it. He said on sort of every level, the character level, the writing, the wittiness, all of it was wonderful. And then a friend of mine, Sandy, I will also leave her link down below. I sound a bit robotic with, I will leave that down below, and I will down below, and I will down below. Now it's sounding dirty. Okay, I'm not going there, okay? My friend Sandy, I'm starting to blush. Okay, my friend Sandy also read this and really liked it. I'm not sure, I can't remember, maybe she said the ending didn't work for her. I'm not really sure. So this, Oscar and Lucinda, 19th century Australia. This is definitely also 19th century Australia, and it's the true history of the Kelly gang. And I think this was maybe what won him the Booker. You know, I don't know. Why am I talking about things for which I do not know? I don't know. But this is another historical fiction by Peter Carey, and from what I know about his writing style, like the cleverness, the poeticness, the way he draws characters and the way he creates them, I feel like it's all going to be for me. So I have two options from him and Australia, a country I do not often visit in my reading, and we need to rectify that. Next is read a work of historical fiction in a new to you time period. New to you historical time period. I've not read any Umberto Eco. This is actually my husband's book. It is signed by Eco himself, you know, and this is Baldino, and this is about the Byzantine Empire, which I have not read anything about. So this will be very, very, very new to me, and I'm excited. This is, I think, what is it? April 1204. It's 1204, so this is a new to me time period. All right, moving on quickly. Next is read a work of historical fiction that has a speculative or magical realistic element. I think this works, but it's The Glutton by A.K. Blakemore. This is going to be about a man that just eats and eats and eats. It's the Glutton of Lyon, and the story of epic hunger. Now, I don't know how far Blakemore is going to take that, if it's going to be like a consuming, I just don't know how far, but it has the elements of magical realism, so that might really work. Other books that I've liked with this has been, you know, Beloved by Toni Morrison, and other books that I can't think of right now. I have a book in my mind, The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. Both have magical realism elements that were just wonderful, but also very grounded in a historical fiction setting, period, characters, very much aligned with that historical fiction, you know, quintessential values of that genre category, but with this wonderful magical feeling to it all, and that really makes the story, it really bolsters the story. So I'm thinking that Blakemore does that with The Glutton. It sort of like takes it a little bit beyond what's real, and so I'm excited about this. Read a work of historical fiction from the perspective of an ordinary person. Let me see. I think that this would work, and it is Ian Pierce, The Instance of the Finger Post. This is like my for sure. I'm going to read this for certain, because I'm going to read it with my friend Anita. We've been wanting to read this together for ages. It's a massive little book. You know what, girl, why do you keep saying it's massive? It's really not that massive. It's 700 and some odd pages. And this gives 4 accounts of a murder. And I think they are 4 accounts of fairly ordinary people. And as you read them, the stories differ very they differ in slight ways, which may clue you in to who actually did the deed. So that's exciting. All right, next up we have read a work of historical fiction from the perspective of an extraordinary person. It's so funny. I think of all the prompts, this is the one that many people are like skipping or fumbling on, or something like that. It's been interesting. Okay, it's been really interesting to see how people react to that. So I do digitally. I might get Wendy Holden's her next book in the Royal Outsiders series about Walter Simpson, who was married into the House of Windsor some time ago. I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years, I don't know. Some in the 1900s, she married into the family, and she was quite the character, vicious. So I might read that, and it's called The Duchess by Wendy Holden. But there are let me think. There was like a couple, but I don't have them in front of me that I wanted to read. I don't exactly know if these are written from the perspective of these extraordinary people. However, I would say that they count, because they're like specifically about these extraordinary characters. And so we have Girl Mary, and that is by, these are other ones that are on my list, Petro Popescu, and it is about Mary, Mother of Jesus, and her story, which has been on my mental TBR for ages. I also have Nama, I think by Sarah Blake. I will make sure to have the book covers pop up. And that is the story of Noah's Ark from the perspective of Noah's wife. And both of those have been on my mind for ages. So those would be two books set from the perspective of from an extraordinary person, people that we know, people that we're familiar with. So the next one is going to be I'm already at number 7. Read a work of historical mystery or historical romance. I have The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje, which is very much a historical romance, or it's a literary fiction with a romantic element in it. I also have Tasha Alexander's first mystery book, and this is set, I believe, in Victorian times. It might be a little bit earlier than Victorian times, but this is going to be so Regent times or Victorian times, and it's called Only to Deceive, which is really an exciting one. I have one more that I wanted to show you, so let me grab that. And if I wanted to do the prompt justice, I would definitely do Lisa Kleypas's Cold-Hearted Rake, which is a true Regency romance. The final prompt is read a work of classic historical fiction. And I have a bunch, but they're all major chunksters. So I have Cervantes's Don Quixote. I also have The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I have The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. And then I also have Romola on my mind by George Eliot. So my gracious me, they're all chunky books. But those are classic works of historical fiction. I also have The Tale of Two Cities on my shelves by Charles Dickens that could account for that prompt. And then just a couple of other books that I didn't slot into prompts, but that I'm thinking about, one of which is The Giant O'Brien by Hilary Mantel. She's most known for her Wolf Hall series. This is set in London in 1782. Very much a book where I could say is set in a different country from my own. I also just finished The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters, which was a wonderful book. And so now I want to read another Sarah Waters book, and I have Fingersmith here. And this is, I think, a Victorian historical fiction. So could also count for a work of historical fiction set in a country different from my own. And I also have Year of Wonder. This is set in London in 1666. Easily a period of time that I don't know if I've really read about. And if I have read about it, I've not read about it with this intensity or detail, because it's talking about The Plague. It's a novel of the plague, and this is by Geraldine Brooks. And I also have Lauren Groff's Matrix. And this is going to be, I've talked about this before, but I forget. Set in France, and it is 1158, set in France in 1158, I believe. And so this could easily count as a country different from my own, or a time period that is newish to me. So that is it. These are all the books that, of course, I would love to read them all in June, but it would probably mean that I wouldn't be eating, sleeping, or mothering, being a good wife. I mean, not even good wife. I would just cease to be a wife if I did read all of these. But I'm gonna do my darndest to get through a ton of them. Let me know what you're reading. Oh, and then let me let me know what you're reading. But let me do a little bit of some shout outs of girl, don't go on your phone and talk to the camera at the same time. Let me do a little chatting about TBRs that I have enjoyed. And the first one is from Elisabeth at Bookins and Books, who gave me the idea to show these pile of possibilities. The next, let me get there, y'all. Let me get there. Heather at the channel Fresh Parchment did a wonderful TBR talking about all the books that she wants to get to. Some of them were new to me and some of them were not. And I was just really, I don't know, she talks about her summer with enthusiasm, probably because she's in a similar position as I am. I work for a school, she works for a school, and her summer is about to open up, making her reading time a lot more flexible. Alma at the channel Alma's Book Journey just did a TBR focusing on World War II books, World War II historical fiction, which I thought was a wonderful idea. She wants to read down her World War II shelf. Melinda at Web of Stories has done, I think, a couple of historical fiction TBRs. She is such a joy to watch. Her enthusiasm both for the event and for books in general is wonderful. Ellen at the channel Ellen Made Book Club, she did these she pulls out prompts from these jars, and she talked about quite a few historical fiction books, and I really enjoyed sort of the randomness, I should say more of like the impromptu-ness of her TBR video. It was very sweet. Hannah from the channel Piles of Books, she did a TBR, a historical fiction TBR, mostly focusing on middle grade books that she's trying to read through, and I enjoyed that. A lot of new to me titles in that video, and it was just, I don't know, really sweet. Really an interesting take on this readathon, and so I really enjoyed her video. And then Nadine from Tome Raider, she also had a TBR of a lot of books that I was very familiar with, and on her TBR was Wolf Hall, which I got really excited about because I love Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, and so I thought that was great. And I think that's it. Let me just double check. No, I'm wrong, and I'm so glad that I went back and I checked it. So we have Mariana Books. She did a Mexican historical fiction video focusing on Mexican writers, and that was just a wonderful video. She was like super quick on the uptick in terms of making the video and posting it. She posted it like a mere day or so after I announced the historical fiction readathon. It was so fast, and I was really delighted to see how excited she was about the event. I also have Krista at Books and Jams, and Krista did a whole recommendations video about the prompts that I set up, and she said such wonderful and lovely things about my channel, and I was just I've just long admired Krista in her channel, and just having her call it the event and call attention to the event really warmed my heart, as well as just her no-nonsense, very grounded take on talking about books. I just love it. I love it so much. And then finally, Elisabeth at A Literary Princess, she did a historical fiction TBR, which was so different because she is getting her PhD, I believe, in female Victorian writers. Is that right? I think so. And she's done George Eliot reading projects. Her channel is wonderful. I've actually had her on my channel before, and the way she structured our conversation
and drew out the telling of what book she was going to end up talking about. The way she structured it and the way that she kind of made me guess in what we were talking about and about our conversation. It was so enjoyable and very clever. It really showcased her cleverness. She's just wonderful. And so go follow Elisabeth. And that's it. That's it for me. So thank you. Just follow these people. They're amazing. And tell me what you're reading because you're amazing. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next